Hello, today I'm going to be reading from Early Teachings About Heavenly Things. I'll be reading about Jesus as he taught the people out of a ship the parable of the prodigal son, of the Good Samaritan and the Good Shepherd. Very often our blessed Lord used to teach the people whilst he was sitting in a boat, and they used to sit about on the rocks and on the shore. And I will tell you how he taught them. Sometimes, as I have told you, when he was in a little boat, and at other times when he was sitting on a mountain or in the fields. Well, he taught them in parables. I will try and tell you what a parable was, dear children. It was a story which he told about things on earth, things that those people to whom he spoke saw every day of their lives. And he drew from the story a picture of the things of heaven. Now I will tell you a few of the parables, and that, I think, will show you what I mean. There are a great many of them, so I can tell you only one or two. You must remember, dear children, that they are the lessons our dear Lord taught, and that they were spoken by his own sweet, loving voice to those poor people whom he wished to learn. One day, he told them of a man who had 2 sons, and the younger one got tired of his home, and he asked his father to give him the money that would one day belong to him, as he wished to go away and enjoy himself. His father did as he wished, because he did not like to keep his son at home against his will. So the son went away into a far-off country, and he had soon spent all his money in bad living. And then there came a famine in that country, and everything was very dear and expensive, and the people were nearly starving. Then the son who had behaved so badly thought of his home and of his father, and he said to himself, I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. He got up at once and started on his long, weary journey. He had no shoes upon his feet, and his clothes were all worn and tattered, and he was very weak for want of food. It was very difficult for him to get on, but he never stopped. All he wanted now was to get to his father. His father saw him when he was a long way off, and he ran to meet him, and kissed him, and told him how glad he was to see him. And he ordered a great feast to be made for him, and he put a new robe on him, and a ring on his finger, and did all he could to show him how glad he was that he had come home. Then the elder son came in from the fields, and he was very angry and jealous when he saw all the rejoicing, and he said that such a fuss had never been made about him. His father spoke to him too, very lovingly, and said, It is right that we should make merry and be glad, for this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. But you, my son, know that you are always with me, and all I have is yours. Now, dear children, I will tell you what this parable of the prodigal son means. You know that in holy baptism, we were all made God's own children, his sons and daughters, and God gave us all equal gifts, the gifts of his Holy Spirit to use for him. The elder son in the parable did his father's will and remained in his house. That is what you do when you are good children. The younger son went away from all that was right and forgot all he had learnt when he was a little boy. That is what you do when you are willful and disobedient and go away from Jesus and his church and forget all you have been taught. Then to you, dear children, there comes a day, as there did to the prodigal son, when you will be very, very sorry for all you've done and want to come back again to all that you once loved. And this parable is meant to teach you all God's love, for God is the Father meant in the parable, and he comes to meet you when you return to him, and you are very sorry for your naughty ways. And his own angels rejoice and are very glad, because like the prodigal son, you were dead in your sin, and you are alive again. You were lost, and you are found. When you have been very naughty and want to be good, will you say, I will arise and go to my Father, and then tell him how sorry you are, and ask him to forgive you for Jesus Christ's sake? Another day, Jesus told the people of a man who was overtaken by thieves, who took away his clothes and left him half dead by the roadside. 2 people passed by, one a priest and the other a Levite, and they saw the poor man lying there, but took no notice of him, and went on their way, for they were very busy. Then there came another man, a Samaritan, that is, a man from a country called Samaria, and he was very sorry for him, and dressed his wounds, and put him on his own donkey, and took care of him. And then he took him to an inn, and gave the innkeeper some money, and told him to be kind to him. Now the Jews and the Samaritans did not like each other. They were enemies. And this man who had been robbed by thieves was a Jew, and so, of course, were the priest and the Levite. And it was only the Samaritan, who was supposed to be his enemy, who was kind to him. Jesus had told this parable to show the Jews who their neighbours were. One of them had asked him the question, and this parable of the Good Samaritan was his answer. And he tells you this parable now, my dear children, just as he did to the Jews. He tells you to be kind to everyone, even to those who are your enemies and do you harm. And there is another meaning which I must tell you. You and all people who come into the world are poor and bruised and wounded, just like that poor man was then. Then Jesus comes to you. Jesus is the Good Samaritan, and he pours oil and wine, that is, his Holy Spirit, into your hearts, and makes them well, heals them from their sin. I wonder, dear children, if you know what is meant by that inn to which the Good Samaritan took the poor man. It is the church where Jesus receives all of us and gives power to his priests to take care of us and to forgive us all. In his name. I can only tell you one more parable, which I think you will almost understand for yourselves. Jesus called himself a shepherd, and he said that the good shepherd always gave up his life for the sheep, but that those who were not really shepherds, only hired servants, ran away and left their flock and did not care what happened to them. Dear children, Jesus is your good shepherd. He laid down his life for you. He is always near you, ready to help you and to save you from the lions and the wolves. And the lions and wolves are the devil who tempts you to sin. Jesus carries you in his own little baptized lambs, in his arms and upon his shoulders, so that you may be safe from all harm. Some sheep will not hear the shepherd's voice, and they stray away and are lost. Dear children, you will not be one of these sheep, will you? Jesus is always speaking to you, always asking you to be good, to be his own little lambs, and to love him. Will you hear his voice, will you not, and say, Good Shepherd, I love thee very much. Please take care of me and keep me safe from the lions and the wolves. Then at last the Good Shepherd will take you from his fold on earth, which is the church, to his fold in heaven, to live with him forever and ever. I hope that you've enjoyed the story today, and I hope to be able to do a series of these stories that you will also enjoy. Take care and have a lovely day. God bless.